Last week I was in Croatia, and there were some beautiful hiking trails behind the apartment that we stayed in, and I decided, of course, going to go climb up one of the ones called Perun. That's the little peak in the distance there. The trail was beautiful. It started off quite through the sort of like the houses, lovely views of the basin, the Adriatic Sea behind, and it got very steep very quickly. So I could run the first part, then it came into a hike pretty quickly. Very, very steep. Some of the hills were 20% plus incline, and again started off on a nice path. As you sort of got a little bit higher up, it sort of progressed into more of like this rocky sort of terrain, this rocky sort of trail with the peak in the background. It then became very interesting. It got a bit more jungly, and you could hear lots of animals rustling. Here's the part where we sort of came into the open, and now the trail sort of goes into a more mountainous sort of path after here, and it became a lot more rocky, a lot harder to sort of hike over, a lot harder to climb over. But the peak was up there, and I was wondering in my head, how am I going to get up this point? And basically you had to follow the trail around. Views were insane everywhere you looked. Beautiful blue sea. And this was sort of like the terrain we had to walk on. I had my running trainers on, which I do threshold runs in, which is probably not the best trainers to have, but they did but it worked quite well. We then I found a trail with a fixed line, which I would have climbed up if I was more young and less mature, but in my mature olden days, I didn't decide to climb up that without a fixed line. Then this was a bit of what the trail was actually like. It was very rocky, very, very steep, quite hard to climb on, but insanely good fun. It became a bit more ropey here, a bit slippery. The rock became a lot more like scree. Still very, very steep ascent up to the top. Beautiful views everywhere you looked, but again, started becoming a bit more ropey as we had to actually sort of climb and scramble a little bit more. There's always a bigger mountain, and that was more so in the background. The trail was the final sort of lead up to the summit was a bit more open. There's a little like hut at the top here, which is beautiful. We finally reached the top, and the views were to die for. They were amazing. You can see split in the background. The sheer drop off was actually quite dangerous. There were loads of lovely wildlife up there too. And this is the little hut. It looked something out of the Blair Witch Project. Very dark inside, but it came out. It was very. It was beautiful. It was a lovely little church kind of building where you could sign your name, which I did. Left my name there, Chris from London. Perfect. A little selfie at the top before I decided to head back down, and back down was a lot more challenging than up. The terrain at the top was very, very dangerous. I mean, you could have slipped off at any side, but we got down safely, and beautiful. Recommend it. Perun.